Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Hager number BB1741 4x4 US26D satin chrome plated residential weight ball bearing steel based standard removable pin hinge. Okay, so let's dissect it first of all. It's a 4x4 hinge. Put it plainly. It's a 4x4 residential weight hinge that is ball bearing. So let's dissect the part number. BB stands for ball bearing. This 5-knuckle hinge will have 2 bearing packets. The 1741 is a reference really to the gauge of the steel, which is 85 thousandths. That's what makes it residential. And then also the location of the screw holes. This non-template pattern is part and parcel of the 1741 part number. There is a link below this video to a document called Template where you can review the 1741 screw hole locations on that drawing, and that template will also show you references to many other hinge part numbers, so it's somewhat of a generic template as it pertains to those different part numbers where the location of the holes are the same, and what will change will be the treatment of the the part number first of all. That will give differences in terms of the corner treatment, things of that nature. Okay. Now the 4x4, that's a reference to the size. The height is the first dimension on this hinge and many hinges, so it's 4 inch tall and then 4 inch wide. Okay. The US26D, it says that it's steel based, and that is indeed the case, with a satin chrome plated finish on it. Okay. This hinge, speaking of those screw holes, will include screws. There's enough screws here for 2 hinges. You would certainly get enough wood screws for 1 hinge per hinge purchased. It's full mortise. You can see from the swag on the hinge leaf there that when you bring the leaves parallel, they're meant to be mortised flush to the edge of the door and the frame. These are sold per hinge. Steel leaf steel pin. It's removable. You could tap that pin out and pull that out should you want to. Well, if you needed to for some reason, I suppose you could. It's removable. If you're going to unhang the door at some point, say to paint, you could simply drive the pin out and remove it that way. Square corner. Okay. 5-knuckle hinges we discussed earlier. Very common hinge. You're going to want ball bearing. You're going to want ball bearing anytime ball bearing hinges are superior to plain bearing hinges. Perhaps the cost difference doesn't make sense up front, but when you have that door installed for 20 years, you will absolutely tell the difference in the caliber of the hinge when you have ball bearing. A hinge that gets worn out the margins between the knuckles will widen, the gaps here, the door will sag, the door will tip into the opening and will become misfit, etc. Ball bearing hinges are always a better idea, especially if you have a residential door, and let's say it's oak 6-panel or some sort of panel design, or a primed solid core door that would be of some sort of panel or a flush design. Hollow core doors, obviously, it's a little bit less obvious to make that sort of connection because they are so light. It's just the longevity of the opening is where you will notice the investment, and that's what it is, in ball bearing hinges really pay off for you. There's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Hager products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, along with a link to the full product catalog. And what you'll notice there is that Hager is much more than just a hinge company. Their namesake is Hager Hinge. Everything as it pertains to commercial and residential hinges. But you're going to see in there door closers, hinges, door closers, lock sets, exit devices, electrified hardware, weather stripping, bypass, bifold, pocket, sliding door hardware, signage, trim and auxiliary hardware, and the list goes on and on. The name Hager is now synonymous with all things related to the door, everything except the door and frame itself, and I bet they're working on that as well. If you have any questions on the Hager number BB1741 4x4 satin chrome residential weight ball bearing hinge or any other Hager product, please feel free to reach out to us.